Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Police Accountability Show. Remember, when you watch the Police Accountability Show, you agree to being offended. You may see, you may view, you may hear offensive material. You agree to being offended. Also, nothing that you see in the Police Accountability Show constitutes legal advice. If you have legal questions, please contact a local lawyer in your area. All right, welcome everyone, and I'm Chad Christophers, your host for another wonderful Police Accountability Show. Today, my topic is simple. It's police training. Are the police adequately trained? I think that's debatable, depending upon what call they're on, and that's the problem. We really do expect police officers and other government officials to be basically jacks of all trade. We call them for everything. I hear of them called for cat calls. There's a bat in my house. There's a bug on my floor. They get called for every emergency. We don't know what to do. Some places they have training to deal with that stuff. Some places they don't. I don't believe that the police are adequately trained in many places, and they could highly benefit from significantly more training, and it would benefit everything they do. From when they detain and arrest people, you'll notice that in places, Asian countries especially, a lot of the police are shown martial arts, advanced martial arts techniques that can be easily used where an officer can restrain someone by themselves, which is incredibly useful. You can see the cops in North America jump on, you'll see 4 or 5 cops jumping on someone. You don't see that as much as in the Asian countries because they all know martial arts. So they can defend themselves. Unless the criminals know martial arts too, then they're going to be in a situation where it's easy for them to detain it. And that's really what it comes down to. The more training they have, the better training they have, the easier the job's going to be, the easier they're going to interact with us. They don't just need training on how to arrest people, how to detain people, but how to deal with everyone day to day, how to deal with these mental health issues. And I do think that that's a lot for a lot of people to, learn in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, we have to live our lives. We can't spend our lives in school. We have to learn a reasonable amount in a reasonable amount of time and be able to perform at our jobs, adequately, at least, and hopefully better than adequately, because we have great training. So the police could definitely use training when it comes to arresting people, definitely in North America. They have absolutely very little training on how to restrain, how to properly take care of suspects, which is definitely causing a lot of trouble. Looking at George Floyd and other instances where if they knew how to restrain people and they had a set way in which to do it and they knew proper martial arts to do it, we could evaluate them based upon it, but they don't. It's just basically grab the guy and hold him down, I guess, from the best I can tell. Here in North America, in Asian countries such as Japan and other countries like that, I've seen where they know martial arts. People surrender a lot more too when they know that the police are way better trained to detain and restrain them. Then also comes the other side where they're just dealing with domestic disputes. They're dealing with people's disputes, work disputes, other disputes. Police need training in that way too. And that's where I think a lot more specialized units could be a lot more beneficial, where as in we don't necessarily call a police emergency line, but we call in a more general line that can direct our call properly to the proper department that can help us with that problem within at least the police. So as for training, as you can see, I've put up numbers here from the amount, and what these are is basically the amount of hours that police are required to become a police officer in different countries around the world. And you can see, it starts off at the top. You've got India at 4,500 hours, 4,500 hours, all the way down to Norway. That's a lot of hours, and that's awesome, and that's great to see. And I tell you, after running these groups, I do have many followers. This group has many people in India, and you see far less not corruption videos, but you see less violent arrests definitely coming out of the country, whether that's a news thing or a people sharing thing. They have a lot more people. They have cameras there too. So definitely you'll see a difference when you look at these countries and the way the police officers act, the way their interactions are, with the different. And you can see then once you get past Norway, if you're looking at the numbers again, you'll see Germany requires 4,000, Australia 3,500, and it really starts to go down from there. You're talking Sri Lanka. United Kingdom is at 2250. Same with us here in Canada, where I'm based, is actually 2250. Not a lot of hours, less than half of most other places in the world. But if you actually go down further, you can see that the United States is at the absolute bottom at only 672 hours, which definitely we see a lot of rough takedowns from the United States. Numbers, whether or not they're related, would definitely take more research. But really, and we all see it for ourselves, everyone who interacts with the police can tell they definitely need better training. They need education. They need a better understanding of what's going on to better understand the situation. They're called for housing disputes, medical disputes, assaults, everything, financial fraud. I was scammed. You know what I mean? And they are trying to get officers specialized to deal with it, but definitely better officer training is the way to go. And you can see here from the numbers from the different countries that, a lot of countries take their policing and their law and order a lot more seriously than they do here in North America. In fact, they don't seem to take it very seriously here at all. Just from the number of training hours required. They have just changed. I don't know about other places in the world, but they have changed the laws. In Canada here, where they do accept people with just high school educations, which is absolutely fine. I mean, that's really a questionable thing on how much education we need before being specifically job trained. And definitely, as long as you got your high school, I think you got a good base to then be job trained. In terms of what you see here in all these countries on the list, well, a lot of these countries are actually on the list. We have members from many of the countries. As I've told you before, police accountability is incredibly international, and that's been the problem with me coming up with a show. How do I come up with something that's generalized to everyone in the group is incredibly difficult. So the bottom line is, do police need more training? Do they need more specialized training? Could they benefit from it? Absolutely. And you can see some of the countries here that they could definitely use a lot more training. It's up for debate. What do you think? Do you think the police in your area are adequately trained? Do you think they're inadequately trained? Have you interacted with them? Have you need them for something important? Because that's really what I find a lot of people seem to chime up, is where they've never used the police service, but they seem to think that they know what it's like. And really, I value opinions from people who've actually used service, who's actually used for something important. Please, if you've interacted with the police, what do you think of the service? Do you think they need more training? Do you think they need less training? I think it's really open for debate. You can see here just the plain numbers across the world. The training numbers required to become a police officer are very different depending where you go. So definitely I could see that perhaps maybe, and you'll notice that, and I will point this out, that the higher numbers in the group are definitely from countries where you see on the lower end. And I'm not saying, because India is a top member in the group. So interesting, uninteresting. Tell me in the comments what you think. Do you think they're trained right? Do you think they're not trained right? I don't think they have adequate training. I think they need significantly more training. I believe they need to have actual real life work experience. It's nice to take people out of school, but never having a job, never having life experience can be difficult. And that's, I guess, the same problem you hear from every student, right? How do I get a job with no experience? So go for it. Anyways, my opinion is the cops need more training, especially here in North America, whether it be Canada, United Kingdom, United States, and they could definitely do a lot better training for these guys. Anyways, tell me what you think down in the comments. Thank you for watching the Police Accountability Show, and don't work too hard.